Hey guys, welcome back. I'd like to welcome you back for session 2. Now that I've introduced myself, I'd like to get into one of the topics that I think that really combines the business and theology aspect that I'm looking for, that hopefully can help some of you guys out. Obviously, I'm outside today. It's hot. Got shade here back to help me protect from the sun. But first of all, I've changed the name of this. It was Business, Theology, and Life. And I was thinking about this, and I thought, really, we're combining theology and business. So I've changed it now where business and theology collide. Because I think there's so many similarities and things that can help, especially those who are trying to discover what our relationship with Jesus means. And if you're trying to discover who Jesus is, I think we can get a lot of similarities to help us in our business life as well. So what I want to talk about today is what we consider, people even outside of the church consider, the golden rule. And this is Matthew 7:12. Just to give you some context, because it's so important to understand the context of what Scripture meant for the people back in the times that it was written for, but then also what it means to us. So to give you an idea, Jesus has been talking for a long time now. This is his very popular sermon, most popular sermon he ever gave that was recorded, the Sermon on the Mount. And it goes through several chapters. This is chapter 7, verse 12, where Jesus says, "So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets." And to look at the scripture notes at the bottom of my Bible helps explain the context of this. And it says the so-called golden rule is found in a negative form in Rabbinic Judaism and also in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. It occurred in various forms in Greek and Roman ethical teaching. You see, Jesus stated in a positive form. So he was the first one really to put this in a positive form. There's always negative before. So in everything means he was referring to the whole teaching of the Sermon on the Mount that he was doing. So in everything, it sums up everything he's been teaching. And then it talks about this sums up the law and the prophets. And whenever Jesus referenced this, which he does often, he's always talking about what we consider the Old Testament. They consider the law and the prophets what has been recorded from the past. The New Testament was the new covenant that Jesus came, and how we as Gentiles, non-Jewish people, are to live our lives for Jesus. It reminds me, makes me think of empathy, right? So Jesus used this a lot, and this is a thing that non-Christians would want to strive for too, because we all want to be treated as we want others to treat us, right? We all want to be treated as others want to be treated. This reminds me of a quote from Reggie Joiner where he says, "Empathy is pausing your thoughts and feelings to align with someone else's thoughts and feelings." You know, a story that this reminds me of, my full-time job, I mentioned last time that I'm a part-time worker, director of outreach at Center United Methodist Church in Indianapolis. My full-time job is a dermatology pharmaceutical rep, which I'm the one that's, yes, I'm in the doctor's offices taking the doctor's time while you're waiting in the waiting room. Side note on this, so many times if I come out of an office and you're there, I'm probably not going to look you in the eyes, because I get so many dirty looks of people who think, okay, he's been back there for 15 minutes and my appointment's late, so he's been talking to the doctor the whole 15 minutes. When all reality, I've probably been talking to the doctor, the PA, the NP for about 30 to 45 seconds and waiting on him or her the rest of the time. So it's really not that long in most cases. That's why I just, instead of ignoring the evil glances as I come out, I just kind of look for the door and head on out. Side note, squirrel. I'm sure I'm ADHD and haven't been diagnosed correctly. With this though, it reminds me, there was a PA that I had seen, her name was Molly, and with a big dermatology office in Indianapolis, that I'd seen several years ago. And I don't know what made me think of this, but I came up to her and I said, you know, I can't imagine what it's like. You're doing your job, even though we have a good relationship with friends. In this kind of a business, you get to meet people over and over again, and you build relationships because you see them every week or two and become friends. But I said, you know what? I can't imagine what it's like doing your job and being interrupted, even by your friends, 3 or 4 times a day from other representatives getting you to sign for samples or ask a question and things like that, even as if it's a short term. I said, I just think of myself driving around all over town and all over the state of Indiana, and 2 to 3, 4 times a day, somebody coming up and reminding me, asking me about something, or it's like, you know what, I've got to get to this next location before lunch, or I've got to get here in time. And it's like, I want to see you, but I've got things to do. Part of my job I need to do, and that's exactly what we're doing to her. And she said, you know what? Nobody's ever mentioned it like that, but that's exactly right. And I think this is where theology and business collide, is when we can really put ourselves in somebody else's shoes and try to truly understand what we'd feel like in those situations. Another story is from one of my favorite non-Christian books, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've read and listened to this numerous times. But he gives a story in there about a man who's on a subway, and he has two young children that are just running amok. And they're being loud and noisy, and he's just standing there, just kind of looking out the window, just staring, almost not observant to the kids. All of a sudden, a guy gets up out of his seat and looks at him and says, sir, don't you see what your kids are doing? Can't you control your own kids? They're right in front of you. And it kind of startled the guy out of what he was thinking, daydreaming about. And he looked to the other man. He said, I apologize. I hadn't even noticed their mother just passed away today, and I'm still caught up in my thoughts. And it just makes us think, how many times in business and life do we run across somebody who seems to be acting rude, yet we have no idea what they're going through, what their day is like? And so I would just challenge you this, as we wrap this up. I challenge you to think about in everyday situations and try, and as a Christian, it's something I pray for daily. God, open my eyes, open my ears to help understand what other people are thinking. And so this is what Christ wants from us, is to love others with all of our hearts. I mean, that was his greatest commandment. And part of that is understanding their circumstances, giving them grace and forgiveness and patience, all fruits of the Spirit. So I challenge you in doing that. And in business, it does the same thing. The more we can understand, especially those of us in sales, what other people are going through, the more we can help guide them down a path where we can be more of a consultant instead of a salesperson, and they're going to trust us and want to help us out because we have their best interest at heart. Have a great day.